Hello everybody, and welcome to this coaching clinic. And today we're looking at relationships, fallouts, breakups, endings, navigating difficult relationships. And this just came to me very strongly as a topic, mostly because of my own lovely coaching clients and a few friends who have been speaking to me about the nature of their own relationships. And I've seen a few things in this area that I'm so thankful I saw in the remaining years of Francesco's life in our relationship, because until I saw what I'm going to share with you, my experience of being in a relationship was quite volatile. Like I tended to have one foot in, one foot out, and kind of look to me like the only option every time there was a problem was to leave the relationship. And I didn't know that I just had a lot of insecure thinking when it came to love. Like, I had no idea that my partner's part in that story was neutral. And that very innocently, here I was bringing my scary thinking to the table when it came to love. And when we bring our scary thinking to the table in the area of love, it makes for disconnection. And innocently, we have learned to pin that disconnect on, oh dear, maybe I'm with the wrong partner, or, oh, I feel disconnected, it must be you. So I know, like, some of you can resonate here. Like, I know I'm not the only one that went through all that, but the hope in this, as I'm sharing today, and it's not to convince you to stay in a relationship or to be in a relationship you don't want to be in, but my hope in sharing what I've seen today is that you will come to recognize the difference between your scary insecurities, you know, getting in the way of love, versus your wisdom and integrity letting you know we're done. And I think a lot of divorces and a lot of separations and a lot of endings, and this can be about friendship too, could be redirected if people just understood a little bit more deeply how the mind works. So we're going to get into all of this piece today. And I also would like to do a healing meditation. Like, I feel called to sharing a heart-centered meditation with you, because often we can be in a state of worry, habitual worry about our relationships. And literally our heart is just, it's not heartfelt. You know, I was listening to one of my mentors earlier today, and he was talking about multitasking. And he said, you know, multitasking is such a bad idea because there's no heart in it. And I thought, my God, that's so true. Like, when you're trying to make the coffee and do your marketing and make sure that, you know, your house is tidy before people come and see you and get the dog fed, you're so dispersed. Your forces are scattered when you're multitasking, and there's no heart in it. Well, it's the same with our mind. When our mind is multitasking and there's a lot of thinking, will I, won't I, should we, shouldn't we, what's wrong with this, what's wrong with you, what's wrong with me, what's going on here, why is this happening? When our mind is multitasking, there's no heart in our relationships. There's a feeling of disconnect, and the primary relationship being with yourself is included in that. So we can feel lonely. We can feel disconnected from even ourselves as we are navigating a mind that's going too fast. One of the things that people have been presenting to me, and it's something that I'm having to face in my own life, is this feeling of discomfort that arises in being alone. Like this innocent misperception that our well-being is dependent on having another in our life. And what I've come to see about that discomfort is if we'll just let ourselves feel it in the moment as it's arising, we'll discover that it's love in disguise. All feelings are love in disguise. And so that feeling of discomfort, that feeling of afraidness, that feeling of fear, that feeling of worry, if we'll let ourselves just feel it rather than be in resistance to it, soon enough it dissipates. It doesn't really hold the power. Like you can be in those uncomfortable feelings, even in an argument with your partner or your friend, and just not care about that feeling. You can be having a full-blown panic attack and just not care that you're having it. This is kind of radical because most of us are efforting to get away from uncomfortable feelings. And yet, as we recognize feelings as love in disguise, just letting us know how we're using our mind against ourselves, we start to be less afraid of the feeling we're in. Now, if you want to have a good relationship, you want to bring a good feeling to the table. That's kind of all there is to it. If you want to have a relationship that feels certain and evolving and growing, you want to bring certainty to the table rather than 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You want to bring a nice feeling instead of habitual worry about where it's all going. I remember before I understood this, that when Francesca would explode Italian style, I would have a feeling of fear. I felt very afraid of tempers. You know, I grew up in a house where the temper was the thing to be afraid of. So in my relationship, I started to notice that this feeling of fear would come up. And the place my mind would go to is, oh, you see, we shouldn't be together. So how interesting and how innocent that somebody could be trying to seek relief from their thinking by exploding, because that's the best he could come up with to feel better. And I could turn that into, oh, this means we shouldn't be together. I just want you to see that, you know, everybody's doing the best they can, even if it looks insane to you, to get relief from the level of noise they're living in. I used to wonder why in my classroom as a school teacher, the kids would feel better. I was teaching teenage boys after they'd had a massive bust up. And what I didn't know was that they find relief in fighting. Looked insane to me. But the noise they were living in needed expressed in some ways. And in the case of those teenage boys, a good fight is what would do it. And then they'd feel better. In the case of my early days of experience with Francesco, you know, his ability to just explode and get over it and get on with it was amazing to me. Because I used to make it so serious. Oh, what does this mean about me? What does this mean about us? What does this mean about the relationship? I had no idea back then that he was a human doing the best he could to get relief from his thinking in the moment. And you could see after an argument that he would calm down. Now, the arguments became less and less as I lived in a better feeling. Now, I want you to hear this. He wasn't learning how the mind worked. He wasn't reading books from Sydney Banks or Abraham Hicks or anybody else or the principles. Almost by osmosis, he just began to live in a quieter feeling, and it made less and less sense to him to blow up. I began to live in a quieter feeling, and it made less and less sense for me to take any of his stuff personally. And subsequently, it began to look insane to me to seek relief by leaving my relationship regularly. So when we're looking in the direction of relationships, we just want to see that everybody's doing the best they can to get relief in the moment from their thinking. And if you're living in a lot of thought about the relationship, about the person, sometimes the relief you come to is a separation. And in that separation, sometimes you get quiet enough and you think, why did we break up? Or why are we divorcing? Why are we separating? This doesn't make sense. I forget why we're doing this. And the reason for that is because we let go of all that noise about the other person. Now, we don't have to. We've got free will to hold on to the grudge, to hold on to thought, to bring the past back up again. Definitely a killer there. But if you want to have a nice, easy relationship, you want to start to see that the relief you're looking for is from the thinking you're in, not the person you're with. That doesn't mean stay where you are and put up with what you're putting up with. I think some people you're going to come across are just more compatible with you than others, give you more of what you're looking for, than you have more in common. And most of all, for those of you on this journey where you're consciously elevating your consciousness, you know, only you can know, only your wisdom can guide you on whether that person you're with is still your match. What I've come to see is that most partners raise up because we're vibrationally moving up the elevator of consciousness. And because humans are designed for well-being, they recognize that in the other person and they start to elevate too, which is why Francesco didn't ever need to do any of the How the Mind Works seminars that I did. He just by osmosis went up, and he naturally kind of lived on that plane more of the time without reading books, because it's in us. But it's very helpful when the other person is living there and you're coming up and you're raising up. But a lot of the time you're the one that's living there and you're bringing others up to their well-being. Now that's not draining, because you're not working at or efforting that to happen. That's just they're naturally coming back to who they are as a result of you living in who you are. Is this making sense? Is there a question? Is there a poignant, yeah, but my situation is this, Grace, can you speak to this? And you can just put it in the chat box, or you can come on.
I was dating a man that I didn't feel like I was fully interested in. Yeah. He just really, really, really pursued me. And well, then we went into a relationship. I was never a yes, like a full yes, but I did engage in the relationship. I had a hard time with his fast mind. And a lot of words. Like I couldn't sit and listen to a lot of words in a very fast mind. That was really hard for me.
Yeah. And yet the innocence of that, huh?
Tell me more. Yeah.
Well, amazing that you could see that that's what was going on, isn't it? You know, that you could see this human living in this fast mind. Did that lead to a change in the relationship on your part, Kendra? Or
it's like I couldn't be full in. I couldn't be 2 feet in. It was like the fastness was I don't know. I had care for him. But the fast was too difficult for me.
So some of us kind of have deal breakers as well. You know, like, and I'd love for you to say that, you know, the human experience will include the fastness, and it's only our innocent judgment of it or resistance to it that creates a feeling of discomfort in us. But you're allowed to have your deal breakers. Like, if you're allowed to be available for a man who's less fast more of the time, and how innocent that our minds can get so busy and caught up, and it creates a disconnect, or it moves us into a space where we don't feel we can fully engage. So there's nothing wrong here. I know for me that I find it hard to be with people who are running at the speed of light when I'm tired and my mind is busier than I realize. Because now I'm sensitive to them. In a clear, easier state of mind where I'm grounded and a bit less sped up, I might see them as, having a tricky time, but I'm not worried that they're going to influence my vibration or being. I'm not influenced by their speediness. Does that make sense?
Yeah. That would be quite the practice, if it's your partner.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's where you're allowed, like, there's no rules here. That's where you're allowed to have a deal breaker. Like, I couldn't, there are things that you're allowed to say, well, I want to, now that I've been with a man who's really sped up, I know what I want more clearly. A man who's a bit less sped up and a little more grounded. Like, I'm not here to talk you into seeing that you're thinking to the degree that you just end up with a man who's sped up. But I also know, since he's a human being, he'll have had moments of not being sped up. And the less sped up we are, the more settled they become in our presence. I was talking earlier about everybody's coming up to the level of consciousness that you're in. But yeah, it's an interesting one. So are you together still, or is it's over? And are you questioning that in any way, or are you good with that?
Once in a while I question myself, but overall I think I'm okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. We certainly get clear on what we do want when we see in front of us what we don't want. And at the same time, it's like, oh, wow, every human being is just, living in levels of thought. And wow, how fast some human beings are living in thought. I mean, when I see that, it makes me grateful that I don't live in that speediness as much as I used to. Or I catch it more quickly when it's happening. Anybody else? Relationships, fallouts, endings, beginnings, breakups.
I'm in the dating process.
You're in a dating process. Okay, tell us more.
Which means I'm on dating apps and things like that. And I go out. And so far it's been I'm gonna say challenging for me. I'm gonna say that probably like all of the men I dated have wanted to progress into a relationship, and I haven't. Either something physical wasn't there, or I was feeling stressed. There's something in their energy that I felt stressed with. So tell me about the process of saying yes to someone.
Yeah. Well, do you notice when you're getting in a feeling of stress or evaluating them?
I'm definitely, yeah, there's definitely sometimes, I am evaluating for sure. And yeah, I think I feel stressed before every date or with every date. At some point I'm able to kind of calm down and just see, how do we feel together? How do we talk? How does it feel?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's a bit like going into a pressure cooker, isn't it? Because you've got two humans meeting each other for the first time and they don't know each other, and there's feelings of insecurity and awkwardness, and then there's levels of noise, evaluation and future tripping. And I wonder what it would be like for you, Kenner, to just use the dating experience as a practice of getting present more than finding a boyfriend, and seeing what happens as you're present, seeing the level of connection that emerges, seeing the enjoyment that you get being on a date when there's nothing on it about the future. Because otherwise it sounds to me like it's just going into a pressure cooker every time. And, that would make for a stressful experience of life. But can you be open to just being present just with each of these individuals, and rather than evaluating, just going for the enjoyment of it? I mean, they're like you. These people, these men are pursuing you, which is, wow, that's great news. So there's a level of well-being that they also recognize they want more of.
Yeah, I think I'm looking also for a matching level of well-being. And if I don't sense it, I'm like, okay, I can't handle it. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, and that's an innocent habit, it's an innocent, like, okay, I'm just gonna go. But that's why I'm inviting you to consider you're not going to find your well-being in them. Number one, you've got it. And if you didn't have it, we no one interested in you. So there's something about you recognizing that what you're searching for, you've got it. And it just feels to me like this, yeah, the habit to innocently get stressed, evaluate, and then leave is optional. Like, I would probably do that too if I was in a pressure cooker. Shit, get me out of here. But again, next time round, maybe see what happens when you're just going for the enjoyment of it and you're being in presence. I mean, there was one guy that I met recently, and I was like, he would never have entered my radar ever, because it was not my type at all. And the more present I was, instead of evaluating whether or not he was my type and where this might go and could he and should I and blah, 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 then it was just more enjoyable. I might not go anywhere, which is fine too. But do yourself a favor and take the gun off your head when you're going on these dates, and his head. Is that helpful at all? Did you hear anything?
Yeah. Yeah, it's just to be more open and just allow just allow myself to be present. Yeah.
And honor the fact you've got dates, you've got people interested. That's the other thing I'm hearing. How many people put themselves out there to no response for whatever reason, not personal, but for whatever reason, and yet honoring the fact that you get responses, honoring the fact that you get to go on these dates, honoring the fact that you get to discern what you want more of because of noticing what you don't want.
Yeah.
It sounds like a practice in presence, and also a practice in clarity and getting clearer, getting clearer, getting clearer.
Yeah.
Getting closer, getting closer, getting closer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good for you.
Thanks. I've been very brave.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
Lauren's written a message, how to find someone who wants to settle down. I think you need to say a bit more about that, Lauren. Or you've gone, you were here. What comes to mind is, why would you want to do that? What are you looking for when you want them to settle down? Okay, time to get married and have kids before it's too late. Okay. So innocently, we can bring urgency into our relationships. And it's not to say that there's not a timing, but there's definitely a trusting that occurs. I shared this the other day, that life is a supportive energy. It's not a punishing energy. And so when we are allowing life to move us, when we're allowing life to show us our desire and go in the direction of that. We rarely have to get other people on board. Things unfold very naturally, in correct order, in correct timing. So I invite us all to notice the too late scenario and the kind of hurry up, let's get this down. Because often what that does is a bit like whenever you're driving a car and you're in a rush to get somewhere, and suddenly this slower car pulls out, and now you're behind an even slower car, and then a tractor pulls out, and then you're getting slowed down. So the faster we're going, it's almost like the world starts to kind of come in to slow us down. Urgency will kill any situation. And getting them to do something will just bring the energy of resistance from them. Now, if you're on the same page, that's great. But I'm speaking here to those of you that maybe want something that the other person doesn't feel as urgent about. Again, that's where you can have your deal breaker. I want to be with a man who's ready to have a family. Might be more of the clarity that you're coming to. Life has felt quite punishing. How do we feel supported by life? We want to see that our experience is not coming from out there. That's why two women could go through exactly the same trauma, and one woman goes on to live her life fully, engaging healthily in relationships and habits and make something for herself, and the other woman turns to despair and keeps the memory of trauma alive in her head and continues to go there, and then seeks relief in the form of unhealthy habits. Two people, two exact same traumas, two completely different lives. Two situations where we could say life was punishing. But the deal breaker and the game changer, how we're using our thinking and our memory about it. Part of the way I feel life, feel supported by life since Francesco was taken away so suddenly, is I began to notice, I began to get interested in noticing where things were working out in my favor. When my mood would drop and my consciousness would fall, because that's what happens when you have a mood drop, the elevator of consciousness falls, I would get into seeing life more negatively and noticing what wasn't working and bringing in memories to keep alive my pity party of what had happened. And yet the moment I'd go back up, usually after a really good siesta, the moment I'd go back up, I'd notice, oh, look how life's sending me that opportunity. Oh, look how life's just sent someone to, I needed a car parking space and my God, someone's just pulled out and I get to pull in. Oh, look how life's sending me someone that's brought me food cooked already, something that I can eat tonight. So we feel supported more than punished, not because life suddenly changes, but because our consciousness goes back up and we start to notice what is instead of what isn't. I think we'll go into a meditation unless there's another question. Oh, Lauren's writing back, beautiful. Good, I hope you heard something. Thanks for your lovely questions, Lauren. And before I share the meditation, some of you might already know, but this Friday, the 11th of the 11th, I'll be co-hosting a group program called Living Miraculously with my colleague Dominic Scafidi, and we're going to support each participant in tapping back into life supportive energy, and more than that, bringing forth the miracle and the miraculous that you're desiring. So we're asking each participant, whether in advance or on the first week, to come to a clarity on the miracle that they want to create during our 6 weeks together. And we're going to do that. We're going to bring into tangible form. We're going to teach across 6 weeks and share, and this will be an experiential course rather than just an intellectual course, where you're actually getting your faith and your hope back up. The consciousness is going back up, and you're beginning to live miraculously. You're beginning to see life supportive energy. You're beginning to actually bring forth your miracle. If that interests you, I'm going to type it in the box here. I think we're at the last spaces now, but you can have a look there. And if that interests you, come and join us for that before we close the year out. Because that is going to be an absolute gift. Oh, sorry, I've sent that to just one person instead of everybody. DominicsCafidi.com/miraculous. Okay, so is there another question before we go into this meditation? If not, we'll go straight in. Okay. So in this meditation, we're going to open our hearts. We're going to choose someone that we need to open our hearts towards, that we're holding a grudge against. And you know what? It can be yourself. But if you've been feeling tinges of anger, annoyance, resentment, if you've been thinking a lot about a particular person in a way that's not been very helpful to you or the relationship, use this meditation that I take you through as an opportunity to let go. Because there's really just this option, let go or be dragged. And when I say be dragged, I mean be dragged by your own thinking, which is not helpful. So we're using this opportunity to let go. And somebody might occur to you as you're doing this. You don't even have to know in advance. You might be surprised about who comes up. But you're going to Allow yourself the miraculous healing that's available when your heart just opens back up. So join with me and close your eyes. Just take a few breaths, usually to the count of 4. In, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. In, 2, 3, 4. And out, 2, 3, 4. See roots coming from your feet, down through the ground, down through the underground, and right down to a rock at the bottom of the earth, and wrap those roots around that rock. Feel yourself becoming grounded. The beauty of this rock is that it contains light. And we're going to visualize this light moving from the rock up through the roots, through the underground, through the ground, through the floorboards, into the feet. And in your own time, move the light all the way through every part of the body and all the cells in the body, and feel yourself lightening up. See it going through the spine too. All the way up. Until you're enveloped in this light. Now I want you to visualize a beautiful lotus flower in the center of your chest. So you're really noticing the heart chakra. And I want you to see pink, dazzling pink, flamingo pink light sparkling from the center of that flower out into the world. So breathe it out, push it out. And send it now to whomever shows up, whomever needs it, or whomever you need to open your heart towards. Notice any resistance and just breathe through it. Remember, forgiveness is a selfish act. We do it for ourselves first. Because as we let go, we're no longer being dragged by unforgiving thoughts and regrets and memories and mistakes. Send this beautiful pink healing light to that person's heart, right from the center of your heart. And see the lotus flower of your heart just opening a little bit wider. Not forcing it, just gently opening it. And I want you to send intention to this person, because the power of our intention, our energy, our vibration is far more important than words. So I want you to send intention to this person. What do you intend for them? Surround this person now in the same light that heals you. And see them beaming in that lightness. And know that love never dies. So the relationship can come and go and change form and all of that. But love never dies and isn't constantly changing up and down and all around. That is thought. So just send love to this person. And ask them through your own intention, what is it you need? And tell them through your intention what it is that you personally need within this relationship or from them. And now just notice that there might be some cords between both of your bodies that are keeping you attached or connected. But these cords, maybe they're cords of the past, cords of dependency, cords of fear, cords of financial concern. Doesn't really matter, but we're going to invite our spiritual team to just release these cords between us both, between you and that person. So just with your own intention now, whatever cord is keeping you stuck together in this cycle or this habit that you get into, just invite your spiritual team now with your intention to come forth and literally just cut the cord, see the cord gently disintegrating. There might be more than one. And feel yourself lighter as a result of that, and see this person relieved as well to be free of that cord. See a lotus now emerging in their heart, the center of their chest, and just pass back and forth this beautiful pink loving light. Giving and receiving, receiving and giving, everything in balance. When you feel ready, just begin to move your fingers, opening your eyes, moving your toes, coming back into the space. And I want to leave you with this radical thought I had recently. And that is, you can have an argument with someone, you can break up with someone, you can end it with someone without being in a bad feeling about them. You don't have to carry that bad feeling around with you. It's optional. I hope that helps you today. Sending you all lots of love. I'll see you in 2 weeks' time. I've had a request from a client of our group program, and she'd like me to do she'd like the next clinic to be based on health and body and well-being. So if that's a place that you get a lot of thinking about, a lot of worry about, join us in 2 Tuesdays' time. All right. And we're going to do a clinic based on that. Lots of love, everybody. Thank you for being here. Ciao.